Carrie.
And Gary Salmons.
We're from Columbus, Ohio. We're Presidential Diamonds. And we are going to share with you a little bit on the concept of essentialism. And we know that by now you all are rock star diamond leaders. You got there in the blink of an eye. You didn't have to sweat, no blood, sweat, or tears to get there, right?
No way.
Well, maybe that's not so true. Have you ever felt stretched too thin?
Or do you sometimes feel overworked and underutilized?
Does your work sometimes make you feel exhausted rather than exhilarated?
Do you find yourself working someone else's agenda rather than your own?
Do you sometimes say yes to do something just to please someone else?
So we're here to talk about some of those questions and hopefully help address them for you with a concept called essentialism. This comes primarily from a book called Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. It's a wonderful book. Pick it up if you haven't yet. But the concept of essentialism is this. It's the idea of eliminating the non-essentials in our life so that we can focus on making the highest contribution toward the goals and activities that really matter in our lives. And Carrie's going to tell us a story to maybe tee that up for us.
So I want to, maybe some of you have heard this story, but I just want to imagine that you've walked into this bakery and they have the most amazing display of baked goods and the smell wafting out of the place is so delicious, and you walk in and you see the owner, the baker, going around and greeting all the customers. She's refilling their coffee, she's just stacking all the cupcakes in a beautiful display, and then she's running back and pulling the banana bread out of the oven, and then she's going over and ringing up the guest that just came and helping them pay their bill, and she's greeting them with a smile, and she is just, it's the most smooth operation. And then you take a closer look at that baker, and she is skinny. You're like, how in the world is this baker that has this beautiful bakery and all these baked goods, she's literally starving herself? And come to find out that that baker that's running this beautiful operation, she's not taking any time for herself to enjoy the works of the fruit of her own labor.
So that story that we just heard Carrie share about the starving baker is probably a good picture for all of us of our own doTERRA businesses. We feel like we're having to do everything for everyone, and quite simply, we're stretching ourselves way too thin. We're feeling exhausted rather than exhilarated. So to help with those problems, we're going to focus on some key things in this teaching that are focused on essentialism and focusing on the essential things. But first, Carrie's going to help us learn a little bit about how we can clear space in our lives to make room for those key priorities.
Yeah, so as a diamond in doTERRA by now, obviously you've come to the conclusion that doTERRA is one of the priorities in your life. And for us, there are a lot of key priorities. We have our time with each other, our family time, and then we need to carve out time for doTERRA in the midst of our busy life. And we have sports schedules and all sorts of different things. But what we need to do is kind of hone in on what are the core things. And so maybe for us, what works really well is doing like time blocking activities so we can see where in our schedule we actually have open blocks of time to put our doTERRA activities, because we've decided that's one of the core things for our life that we're going to do, right? And one of the things when I first started this journey, Betsy Holmes shared essential oil with me, and that's how we fell in love with it. And we used to, once upon a time, I used to get together with Betsy and several other of my girlfriends every single week. We made it a priority to get together. We would put the kids to bed, and then we'd put our husbands to bed, and then we would all get together and have our weekly knitting nights and just have our girl quality hangout time. And once Betsy had shared oils with all of us in that knitting group, guess what happened? We realized that we needed to make the hard decision of giving up that girls' knitting night together, because we were then out teaching classes in the evening, and we couldn't be out teaching classes every evening and then justify another night to hang out together, because that was cutting into the core family time, right? And so I read a really great book by Sarah Robbins. It's called How to Rock Your Network Marketing Business. And in there, she wrote something that really stuck out to me. And she said, one of the things that we need to feel really passionate about is being able to say no to some things now for the short run so that we can be able to say yes to the things that that really matter to us for the rest of our lives. And so that was one of the first things I had to say no to. For some people, maybe it's TV shows that you love to watch that you need to just say, okay, I don't have time for that anymore so that I can fit in time for teaching my doTERRA classes. Sometimes for some people it's, other crafts or hobbies that you like to do, or scrapbooking or whatever, that you don't have time to do that because you've decided doTERRA is one of your priorities.
Another example I'd like to give really quick, when we were considering having Carrie do Diamond Club, back before we were Diamond, we looked at the time commitment it would take for those 4 months for her to do that, and the time that she would be away from the house, and what I would have to do to step in and do the things that she was ordinarily doing while she was going to be gone. Mainly a lot of things around the house that I was ordinarily not doing, being on with the kids more. So I had to make a short-term decision for those 4 months to step up and fill that role while she was doing Diamond Club so that we could have long-term we could really enjoy the things that we love doing. And without a doubt, that has happened in our life as we made that decision to make those short-term exchanges for long-term rewards. It truly has been an incredible reward. So as we think about clearing away those things that are not essential to our lives, essential to the agenda and goals that we have for our lives, it's important to don't think to yourself, what do I have to give up? Think about, what do you want to go big on? What are the key things that you want to go big on? And for us, certainly doTERRA is one of those things that we've made a decision to go big on. And so we've made space for doTERRA in our lives, and it's truly made the difference.
So once you've figured out the core things that you want to invest your time and energy in, you need to kind of make a list of all the other things that just have to be done, right? Cleaning your house, grocery shopping, doing the laundry, taking your kids to sports practices. All these things are that take up a lot of time and are part of our day to day. And what's really good is just to kind of look through that and say, what kind of things may you able to delegate out? And I'll tell you, this was really hard for me because as a full-time mom, I felt like I should definitely just be able to have the time to clean the house from top to bottom and just have a clean house. And we all know that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy and time to...
I didn't have that same issue, just so you know.
But I really wrestled with that. And Gary would say, Carrie, why don't we hire somebody to help with the house cleaning and bless somebody else with a job? And I just felt like, I don't know, maybe that's one of those things that I feel like I'm supposed to do.
But if you think about it this way, so let's say 4 hours on a Tuesday morning that Carrie was spending cleaning the house, she could spend 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of those hours mentoring with the key leaders on her team. The time that she would spend instead of cleaning focused on mentoring those key leaders was invaluable, far more valuable than any time she would spend cleaning her house. And the opportunity to bless, like Carrie said, bless someone else to clean our house was tremendous and allowed her then to free up her time to focus on those very valuable activities in her business.
Yeah, so make your own list. Maybe you have a passion for cleaning your house and you don't want to delegate that out, but think about the things like there's curbside grocery pickup that you can do. You might, some people actually like hiring an administrative assistant, but not everybody is really to that point. And I would venture to imagine if you can help delegate some of these other things, some of these other tasks in your day that somebody else would be glad to help you with and earn some money on. Your kids are actually able to do a lot of creating the samples for you that you need to send out. Maybe you hire somebody that's just going to do your post office runs to you. Think about the things that take up a lot of time in your day that you just don't love doing. I read a great book by Maria Kondo, and it's The Magic Art of Tidying Up. And she mentioned some key little nuggets to help measure and help you decide what you want to spend your time doing. And she said, make sure you're spending your time on doing the things that are purposeful, relevant, and also bring you joy. So use those as your little measuring sticks to help you figure out what do you want to keep on your plate and what you would love to offload or bless somebody else with.
So the next thing we're going to talk about, we focused on the art of learning to make room for the priorities in our life. We've talked about proper delegation. We're talked a little bit about learning to properly prioritize, and how do we prioritize all the things that we need to get done in our life. So there's a wonderful book called Eat That Frog by a gentleman by the name of Brian Tracy. Pick it up if you haven't read it yet. But in it, there's a great section on how a tool that he uses to prioritize all of the tasks that he has in his life. And it's actually something that I've loosely followed.
He's really good at this.
Because I'm a square, or what am I? I'm a square. So for squiggles and circles,
I'm a circle.
just keep in mind you don't have to follow this to a T. But if you need help with this, if you need help kind of prioritizing what do I do first and then what do I do second, here's a little tip. Get a piece of paper, put down everything that you have to get done that day or that week, all of the tasks, whether it be in your business, in your personal life, in your church, with your family, friends, whatever. And then put a letter A, B, or C next to each one of those items. The A items are going to be those that are absolutely should get done. And if they don't get done, there's going to be some consequences. And then B are going to be those that should probably get done, but if they don't, it's moderate consequences. And C is going to be those things that you'd love to get done, but if they don't get done, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so guess which tasks you're going to tackle first?
Well, and I'll just say that a lot of times the C ones are maybe the most fun ones, but they're not really the main priorities. And so I'm one of those people that has trouble because I'm like, oh, I want to go do the fun thing first. And then I get to the end of the day and I realize the biggest priorities didn't get tackled yet.
Yeah. So if you start your day, this is just a suggestion, but you could start your day tackling those things that are A priorities. And you finish all of those A priority items first, okay? In fact, you could mark them A1, 2, and 3. Get them all done and then move on to your... That's the way I work. And then you could start on the B ones. And it is an incredible sense of satisfaction. Now, again, taking the time to do this is very powerful. Many of you may not take the time, but if you do take the time to do it, it will prove very beneficial to you. I'm going to give you a quick quote from Abraham Lincoln that'll illustrate that point. He said, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So by engaging in this practice each morning or each week, you are sharpening your axe so that when you go to tackle that task, that big, huge task list of things you have to get done, it's going to be much more efficient for you. It's going to provide a lot more satisfaction for you if that's something that is helpful to you. So there you go. Now we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit. You may be asking, so what are the essential things that we should be focusing on as diamonds and aspiring blue diamonds? What are those key priorities for our business? And Carrie's going to talk a little bit about those right now.
All right, so now you've figured out how to carve out 2 hours of your day, or maybe you put the kids to bed and then you use that as your work hours. What should you be doing during these hours? Because we know that the laundry list is really long, and Gary's helped us figure out how to prioritize things. And one of the biggest things that we're passionate about is that as you become diamond and blue diamond and presidential diamond, it's very easy to fall into the accidental position of managerial mode, and we stop focusing on the core things that are so important with doTERRA. And so one of the things that we've really made something that we hold each other accountable to is just practicing what we preach. So when you're teaching people how to share samples and how to teach classes and how to follow up and how to do a mentor call and how to do a wellness consult, you need to ask yourself, am I out there doing the same thing? Can I bring somebody along to shadow me? And if they watched me, if they were a fly on my wall in the middle of my workday, would they see that I'm actually, during my 1 or 2 hours of working, that I'm making it a power hour, and I'm focusing on those core things that are what we like to call income producing activities, and I'm not just organizing my office or alphabetizing my oil bottles, right?
Yeah. In addition to those things, some key activities we want to focus on, which are the kind of the core activities that we do as we aspire to blue, is to continue to mentor our key leaders. So think about that. The time you spend mentoring those key leaders, again, is just so important to build into each one of them. We attend and promote team and company events. Our businesses are grown tremendously by the different events that are put on, both by ourselves and by others. Weekly or monthly trainings that we put on for our team. Our team is looking to us to be the leaders and to teach and train them, so those are great opportunities.
And we'll encourage you. We do monthly trainings here in our home, and finally, once we learned how to do live streaming, that added a huge value so that all the people that can't, that don't live in our town or aren't available to come over to our house in the evening, now our monthly meetings, everybody can get access to. So it's also saving you a lot of time and energy when you have those trainings recorded.
And then a couple of core activities would be to inspire your team, recognize the great things that are going on on your team and with folks on your team, and then finally, personal development, regular personal development. We don't ever stop doing that, reading books, watching webinars, etc.
Which is what you're doing right now.
Yes.
So props to you.
Check that off the list today.
Check that box. So just in wrapping this up, I hope that this was some helpful little nuggets focusing on what essentialism means. I think it was really powerful. This is straight out of the book. And they said, we want to make sure that we're feeling like our days are less a function of someone else's to-do list, and rather that we're accomplishing the goals and the tasks that are really part of our priorities and the things that we want to invest our time and our lives in.
And then I'll close with this. If you got nothing else from this presentation, take this with you. And it's as you face a challenge or a crossroad in your doTERRA journey or just in life at all, ask yourself quite simply, what is essential? And eliminate everything else. All right?
All right.